Welcome to Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding podcast, where the power of words becomes a bridge between worlds. In this podcast, we embark on a dynamic exploration of the human experience, weaving a tapestry of diverse voices, stories, and perspectives. I am your host, Lavinia Richards. Join us on a journey that transcends boundaries, fostering connection, empathy, and a deeper understanding of the rich mosaic that defines us all. Get ready to reflect, resonate, and embark on a transformative odyssey through the art of conversation. What's up, beautiful people? It is Lavinia Richards. I am your host. Welcome to Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding podcast, where we keep it raw, real, uncut. We talk about life experiences, all kinds of things. So listen, I am on here with my sister, Lashandra, from the G. She's from Gary, Indiana as well. And we're impromptu. We're really impromptu. We don't have anything, we do have some topics or a topic that I want to bring up and mention. And so today we're going to be diving into my sister growing up had to deal with some abuse. And as a child, she was abused, It's one thing to be spanked. It's one thing to get a whooping. Right? All of the things, but she dealt with some things that could border abuse. She dealt with some things that I was able to witness, and definitely nothing that we want to, bash her mother or anything like that about, but it did come from her mom. But not only that, it also trickled into her life as a mother. And so we're going to dive into that today. So, sister, Lashandra, College time. Go ahead and say hello to the people. Hello, people. Yes. Listen, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself. Of course, I thought you're my sister, but just a little bit about who you are. And then we're going to dive in. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, but just let them know who you are outside of my favorite sister.
I am Lashandra, originated from Gary, Indiana. Graduated from the Wallace High School. I am a mother of two beautiful women and the grandmother of two beautiful grandchildren. And I think that's enough about me.
Okay, sounds good. You gotta keep don't tell too much. So I talk with people a little bit, about some things that you've encountered growing up. I've seen you get slapped. I've seen you be intimidated. I've seen you, like, where we were just talking where her mama would whoop her, and my sister be standing there like, I'm not gonna cry. And her mom was like, yes, the hell you are. And my sister be like, oh, no, I'm not. It's just, and I would be looking like, please just cry. But she's a Taurus. Yeah, so that May 16th ninja, she wasn't having none of that. And neither was, her mom. But it's serious. We're laughing, we're joking. But it was something that I wanted to talk about because it happens. And whatever kind of abuse it is, whether it's coming from your mother, whether it's coming from your father, whether it's coming from your spouse, right? Abuse is abuse. And it can really play a detrimental role on how we grow up. Right. And so my sister and I were sitting here talking because she has a somewhat strained relationship with her children as a result of something that she experienced, and with it being no books to it. Right. With us not having books to raising children and knowing the proper way, if you will, some things you learn that hurt people. And I wanted to talk about it because sometimes when you go through that, people want to hold you to who you used to be. And even though you didn't intend to hurt your family or whatever that is, looking at my sister and knowing the woman that she is and who she's become, to see how she's evolved from that, but also how she suffered. It's just something that I want to bring to the forefront. So I want to talk about the first thing, when do you feel like, because, I saw it more so when we were in junior high school. But when do you feel like, the abuse, if you will, to a degree first started, the disrespect and all of those things? When did it start in junior high, or was it before that?
I believe it was before that, as far back as I can remember. I have a photogenic memory, so I remember things from 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old. I just remember. And that's just all I knew. My mother started out as a single mother, and she met my stepfather when I was 3, and she ended up marrying him when I was 6. But it was kind of like my mother wore the pants of the house. So even though my father was the provider and took care of home, my mother was the disciplinarian. And she basically disciplined us as far as whoopings or cussing us out. Like, everything was just fine. So I don't know if she was just miserable and she just took it out on us because we were her seed. My father really didn't have a lot to say so with it, because at the end of the day, we was not his biological children. So I just feel like, as far back as I can remember, my mother has always been abusive, whether it was verbally, whether it was physically. That was just her love language, basically, was just abuse. She was just violent.
And that's crazy. But so when you would experience that, because I know what I felt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Mama, I love you, but I used to want to fight you when I was little. I know I couldn't because Big Army didn't play, right? But the reality is, like, sitting and watching you go through those things that would be very embarrassing, because it would be times that I felt like it was intentional, when you would have company or things like that. Like, it was almost as if she had an audience. How did that make you feel?
I was hurt. I was embarrassed. But at the end of the day, there was nothing I can do. I literally did not used to want to have company, because I knew that that's the way my mother was going to act. And it just would make people not want to come around, because they were basically afraid that because she did it to me, that she was going to do it to them. And I feel that she did it more when I had company. She did it all the time, but she really clowned and acted out when she had an audience.
Do you feel like it was something missing in her? Like, okay, because your mom, like, do you feel like there was something that was broken in her? Like, did she have any domestic violence issues that maybe she experienced? Or do you think she had something that made her feel unloved? Like, was there something that you can really account for her behavior?
I don't think so, because when I asked relatives, aunts, uncles, was she abused? Stuff like that happened in her life as a kid or a child. Nothing like that ever happened to her, but just from conversations with family, my mother has always been basically the riot of the family. Even as a kid, she would do stuff, because back in the day, if you don't tell who did it, everybody gets a whooping. And even though my mom knows she was the one that did it, she wouldn't tell, and she'd rather watch everybody get a whooping for something that she know that she did, and it's like she voted on it. So, like, she's just always just been hell. Like, she's just always been hell.
So, I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? It used to blow my mind when she used to put your adult brother, bruh, I love you. But when she used to put your adult brother on her, like, she did not play.
No.
At all. Like, there was no, but I think that what was so alarming to me is that as a child watching you, you had no recourse. You had no defense, because, like you said, at the time, Mr. Roscoe, I love you, but you're not mine. So what exactly can I do? And so I got to fall back, and so nobody else is stepping in, right? And she's like, okay, I got this, because if she's the disciplinary, and that's something that we have to pay attention to, being women that are demasculating men in the household. right? Because maybe if he didn't feel emasculated, right, or emasculated, he would have stepped up and maybe tried to save you. You know what I'm saying? So I remember, I would look at you and I would be like, God, and it was just like, I gotta ask you though, when you were sitting there, and I remember she had slapped you so hard, and I'm like, Jesus, please just give me like Wonder Twin powers for real and let me knock the wobble gobble shit out of her. But it was like you stood there and it was like your face was like stone and I cried for you. How were you able as a child to, what helped you from breaking?
I just felt like I was stronger than that, and I knew that it wouldn't last always. And if I could just get through this one, or maybe I just didn't show weakness, and maybe she'd stop, or I was just mean, and I had just developed a wall that it just didn't matter no more. It didn't hurt no more. Like, I felt it, of course, but I didn't feel it, if that makes sense. Like, it became honest. I ain't numb to it. It didn't matter no more because I knew that that's what she was going to do. And I just always prepared myself. I knew that it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. But I always knew before the weekend is over, I got company from Friday to Sunday. One of these days before my company leaves, she going to clown. And I just have to prepare myself for it. And she never let me down.
She didn't. Like, it was crazy. All right, so I guess the thing is, like, how did that affect your relationship, though, coming up? Like, do you feel like you were loved by her?
I felt like I was taken care of. I'm not going to say that I felt loved because I don't feel that love's supposed to hurt like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe had I had a reason or knowledge of why she was like that, I might have would have better understood. But to know that none of that ever happened to you, you never witnessed that from your parents, what made you do your children like that? And it's not like I was just the only one. She did both of us like that. So neither one of us was singled out. She just did both of us like that. And like still to this day, I do not know where that came from. And even at 52, I still don't know where that stemmed from. And for her and all of my uncles and aunts to be raised in the same household, and like none of them are like that but her, it just baffles me.
That has to be. The thing about it is, I guess what I'm thinking about, so because we grew up in the G, we grew up in Gary, Indiana. We not going to act like it was the best. It wasn't the worst either. As we grew older, it got worse. Hence the reason we don't live there anymore. However, like, what was it like dealing with the pressures of that, and then having to go to school? Like, what was that like from a teenage perspective, having to deal with the abuses and, the stresses of being a child, knowing that you have no recourse, knowing that you have no defense, but at the same time, you got to go to school because you bet not fail, right? So now you got this other pressure because we know she's not playing about education, which is cool, but it's an intimidation because okay, I'm already getting slapped. I'm already getting cursed out. I'm already on punishment. What more, right? Like, what was that like in school?
For me, I used it to an advantage because I felt like that's why I got into a lot of fights. I felt like that's why I was basically labeled the girl that I was, because it's like I couldn't fight my mama, so I'm gonna fight somebody else. I'm gonna get it off me some kind of way. Now, being that I never picked with anybody, but when it was our time to get it, we got it. And basically everybody I saw, I didn't see them for who they were. It's like I was looking at my mom.
Like, I'm gonna hurt you because like I'm gonna do to you what she do to me.
Right.
Real shit. And that's real though, because it's like, I just wonder, but then I would imagine too, Like it was almost a scapegoat, like an escape, because now you're not at home with that. You get to be with your friends, people, our age. We get to hang, we get to act the fool, be in the surge, doing what we do. But then the stresses of knowing you still got to go back and what's she on today? And not like she just came out of bags all the time, because nobody wants to portray that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you were very well taken care of. Did you have a good home? And a lot of people think that's all that matters. It's not, because you were broken.
And I had a good home because of my stepdad, because my mom never worked. So the blessing for me is I'm grateful for my stepdad to even put us in the home that we were in, because had it not have been for him, I don't know what would have happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because for her to have the rage that she had, and we had a great home, I can't imagine if we were still in the projects where he got us from.
Right.
The life of living in the projects, the life of being around, like the Motherhood project people.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in a great home. I was raised in a great area.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great life because that's the life that my stepfather gave me.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that had he not have come, I had no idea what my life would have been.
And that's deep. And now we go back to that too, because environment is everything too, though. Because now we go back to projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ain't nobody really doing amazing in no damn projects, right? We trying to scratch and survive. That don't mean we was living nasty or anything, because we always grew up. I don't care if you got a box, keep that box clean. However, people feel like because you dress nice and you have on clean clothes and your mom keeps your hair done and your house is nice, they've come over and everything looks clean, but they don't know what goes on beyond the surface. And then hence the reason the molestations and the abuses, which molestation is an abuse, but just, physical abuse, whatever it is, those are the things we don't see because we're looking at the exterior. And then this child, you're broken. And you're carrying that energy on into adulthood and into because you're in high school. So like you said, I ain't gonna start it, but please bring it so I can unleash this.
That's how I felt every day. I was sitting on edge, just waiting for somebody to say something slick, waiting for somebody to step on my toe, just waiting for somebody to side at me, because I was just always ready to just fight.
Yeah, because you needed to release. And you had hints of anger. And the anger that she put on you, you wanted to give to somebody else. Now, we're going to dive into that in a minute, because now here you are, you're an adult. We had our children young. So here you are an adult, and you got your most precious gift. You had your first child, right? And we're going to talk about that because you ended up being exactly who your mom is. And now you and your daughter's relationship is strained as a result of that. But now let's talk about it, because you get to speak as one that was abused, but then became the abuser. And I want to dive into it because you very rarely get to speak to someone who's been on both sides. But I want you to speak now from the side of being the abuser, because what made you do it?
I just believed that that's all I knew. Even though I didn't like it, even though it wasn't right, even though I hated it, I hated her for doing it. But it's like, hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means did I ever want to hurt my daughters or physically abuse my daughters or, verbally abuse them or anything like that. But it's just like, that was all I knew. And that was all I knew to do. And then that it does not come with a handbook. Most people that's in an abuse situation, you either go one or two ways. You either become an abuser or you do something totally opposite of what the abuser is.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, in my situation, it's like all I knew was to cuss to get my point across. Because even in the end of the day, when my mama yelled and cussed and fussed, she got her point across.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe had she been gentle, a little gentle Karen, or my father was a very soft-spoken, very humble man, but when he did speak, he spoke volume.
Okay.
Whereas my mom was the tusser, the fusser, the whooper, the whatever. But that's how she got her point across. So as I started having children, I felt like I needed to get my point across. So maybe you need to get whooped, or maybe you need to get cussed at or yelled at. Mm-hmm. Of course, it was not the right way, but that was the only way that I know. So it's like when you know better, you do better, but I didn't know better. Yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't know better.
Right. Because it was ingrained in you. Right. So the thing about it is, and how do I want to say this? So I watched my mom get abused physically. And so I can attest to this because it sounds crazy because, just to kind of, caveat what you said, I watched her get abused. And so the whole time she's going through it, I'm like, I'll never. Right? I'm like, there's no way. And I'm like, when these ninjas was messing with my mama, I'm like, oh, we right, like with me and my mom about to, where's the ice pick? Where is this? And I'm swearing that I would never walk in those shoes because I physically saw the hurt. I physically saw the pain. I witnessed it. But that had no weight bearing on me turning around and going through the exact same thing. And so it's easy to judge because you would think that logic takes precedence. It does not, because hurt people, and you operate in the chaos that you know. Now that doesn't give anybody an excuse. I didn't have a reason to accept the abuse because it still was my choice to say, I don't like this, right? But it was a learned behavior. And that very thing that you speak about, I never do that, the very thing you do. But when you're hurting, because let's think about it. Where did I go to get the counseling to teach me something different? Right? So where did you go? Where was the help to say, I know this hurt you. You may not understand this, but you can turn out to be who your mom was. So we're going to get you some counseling. You need to talk to somebody to release this because you're going to hold some traumas from this, right? And it would be so crazy because for me, saw it from both perspectives. I saw you go through it. And I'll be really would fuck me up because I'm like, how is she doing this to her daughter? Right? Because at the time you hadn't had TT yet. You hadn't had my youngest niece. So I'm looking like, because this is when you were the youngest. That's why I'm bringing that up. I think by the time you had her, you had gotten better. I don't say you was all the way together, but you were much better. Because let's be clear, you were still broken. So I think that people need to be clear and understanding, like it's easy to judge until it's you, first of all. When hurt people definitely hurt people. And it's easy to judge when you're not in it. And even that's why I wanted to make a point. Even I watching the hurt, the time I experienced that we got 38 pulled on us. We talked about this earlier. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that. Okay, why aren't you though? What's different about your life? Are you putting yourself in different environments? Did you get the counseling or the psychological help that you needed? Is there a chemical imbalance? Is there something? And so when you're thinking about those things, a person can judge, but until you've experienced, you really have nothing to say because you don't know which way it's going to go. And I'm a firm believer because I lived it. I let a man whoop my nut for years, my first marriage. And baby, we was jumping out of cars, whatever that was. And so now here you are. What is your biggest regret with not being able to correct what your mom did with my oldest niece?
I feel like my biggest regret is the fact that I allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. The biggest regret is to just continue to hear about it. I've already apologized. I've already been stretched out on a cross about it. And know that it will never be forgotten. I'm, again, 52 years old, and I have not forgotten. So I don't expect her to forget it.
The difference is I don't continue to bring it up to my mom.
Listen,
It is what it is. She did what she did, and we just don't move on from it. I think that my biggest regret is that I didn't get the help that I felt like I needed at the time to where it wouldn't be a problem with us today. So maybe had somebody stepped in and allowed me to get help or talk to me about it to where when she was younger, I feel like it would have done a whole lot better. But at 52 and 32, like, I don't know how many more times I can apologize. That's just like my mom. The difference between my daughter and I and my mother and I is I admitted to my shortcomings and my faults of my abuse.
accountability.
My mom today, still at 52 years old, act like she has no recollection. This is not how it went. I never did that. I never said that. And it bothers me. As far as with my daughter, I've apologized a million times for the same thing. And I'm tired of apologizing. And I feel like I hold the guilt of what I did, who I was. And I feel like she makes me on a daily basis at some point make me remember what I did, what I said. And no matter how I tried to be better, tried to do better, I felt like I went overboard because I know what I did was wrong. So I end up in turn spoiling and giving more than I should have.
Financially trying to compensate.
For where I did mess up to where I just ran myself crazy. And then it's like when I withdraw and try to, pull the, well, I'm still your mother card, it's just like, she just blows it in the wind like it means like nothing. Because I remember when you whooped me when I didn't do nothing. I remember when you embarrassed me in front of my friend. I remember, and it kills me, but there's nothing else I can do about it. But
yeah, and it's unfortunate because I've been on the abusive side too. And I'm gonna just be real. There are some apologies I'll never get, and I'm okay with that. But I think that it comes, as someone who has been abused, I had to find a space and place within myself to understand that I had to love me. Meaning I had to let go of whatever it was and not hold that person responsible for my well-being. Meaning I had a choice. I had a choice to walk away. You didn't have a choice as a child. My nieces didn't have a choice as children. But one thing that I did have to learn, I didn't have a choice as a child with things that I went through, right? But the reality is it was what it was and we experienced it. And I can't keep telling my mother that almost 52 July 3rd, look at her and say, it was because of you and what you did that I got molested. I ain't been molested no more, right? I haven't been touched anymore. And wait for it. I decided by the grace of God, with faith and strength, that I was going to be the generational curse breaker for my family. So, yeah, I'm not downplaying the fact that you hurt either one of them. But I think what people have to understand is when you become an adult, you are now responsible for your healing, right? And I'm not about to get religious because, we talked about that too, is whatever a person believes. But I am going to say this. You should give the same grace that you want. So there are no books. You are not perfect. And any parent that has a child, there is something that you're going to do wrong to your child. Whether it's a conversation, whether it's behavior, whether it's, whatever. They're going to take something that you did to them very, very literal, very, very personal. And it's going to break their core. And you're going to look like, what? And you're going to apologize. And that one minor thing, whether it's you talking about their hair or whatever, it can break them depending on the individual that they are. But I can't keep apologizing for a state and a place and a phase of life that we no longer dwell in. Right. And so I can't say anybody is right or wrong for what they feel. Because like I said, I've been abused. But because I've been abused, I can speak from my point of view. I had to look at my abuser and understand that when I stayed, it was because I wanted to. So even though you guys were children, now as adults, you have the ability to change all of that, right? You have the ability to free your mom, because I heard what you said, and you said, it still bothers me because there's a piece of you that still isn't here. If your daughter is still afraid of something that happened years ago, it's because something in it broke her core that she's not found a space and place to heal. And that's not a you thing. And I think that needs to, because my abuser, they had already hurt me. So it wasn't their job to heal me. You're not going to find healing in the same place that hurt you. So if I'm the problem for you and I'm the one that hurt you, you've got to find a way to separate from me so that you can find the healing that you need first so you can interact with me again. That you can never find that, then we just can't interact. Mother, father, let's stop. Let's normalize not just accepting a title as accepting fucked up behavior. Because you're my dad, you get to call me a bitch and disrespect me. You don't get to do that. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that either one of them are wrong for their pain or whatever, but how long do you hold on to it? How long do you think that you're going to hold me accountable? And how many things have you done wrong that if you are a religious person believing in, reaping what you sow, or if you're a spiritual person believing in karma, what did you sow? And if you reap what you sow, did you do everything perfectly that you didn't need that same grace that I'm asking you for? So how did that affect you mentally?
I still feel that I go through it. I go through the mental part of the fact that I was abused by my mom. I go through the mental fact of the fact that I abused my daughter. The relationship that I have with my mom, I don't want that relationship with my daughter. So I know that sometimes I do try to go overboard with the love language, the giving, being there for her and stuff like that. Whereas I felt like my mom wasn't there for me, but I just feel like I just get shot down because if I say no, or if I fall back, or whatever, I did a lot of things. I sold my soul to the devil a lot of times to make sure that my children had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the fact that they don't know what I did as a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I did take stuff out on them because I couldn't take it out on other people. Was that wrong? Absolutely. Did I know better? Probably not. Because I feel like when you do know better, when you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of sacrifices. And then it's like, for your kids to get older and basically just act like you wasn't shit and like you never did anything for them, or when you know that you didn't sold your soul to the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just brought up to me the other day, like, I don't understand why you're not a nurse. You've been to nursing school, but you had to drop because you had 2 children. You was a single mother, and you should have been a nurse by now, and you should have done this by now, and that by now. All the things that I sacrificed for my children, for it to be given to somebody else. Well, I'm the reason like this because of my granddaddy, or I'm the reason like this because of my uncle, or I did this because of my aunt. When you were the one that did all the sacrifices, but you don't get credit for none of it. Like, that's just like in your face. I can honestly say I am the woman that I am because my stepfather. Because had he not have come into our life and took us to the heights that he took us to, I wouldn't know no limits now, but it just hurt. It just really hurt, and I don't know what to do to stop it.
Well, the first thing, you got to forgive yourself. I can say that. A lot of people hold themselves in jail, mental jail. Excuse me, I shouldn't have did this. I was so stupid. But we be the ones holding ourselves to all of this bull, right? The reality is you got to forgive yourself. You didn't say, I did what I did and that's it. You didn't say, okay, she wrong, get over it. You didn't say any of that. I take onus because that's huge for me because, again, I said that there are some apologies that I will never get. But I had to learn to be okay with that because here's the thing people have to understand too. And me and my cousin talked about this, my cousin Katina Washington, but it means so much because she brought up, you got to understand sometimes people just simply don't have the capacity to understand, to love you, to treat you right, to treat you better. How can I treat you like something I've never experienced? You want me to be your knight in shining armor. We're looking for this knight in shining armor out of Ivanhoe projects. Now, not to say that that king couldn't eventually turn out to be great, but literally our environment and what we're seeing, this is what we were trying to establish. And we wanted somebody who was running from gunshots and gangs and fights to love us when they was getting their ass kicked. And they were hungry and they were mistreated. He don't love me. He can't love himself. So now here we are. You a mother, you abused, you never got help, you never got, and I'm not trying to make this no victim thing because you knew, right? And there were some things and you took onus and you took ownership. And I think that's the first step. I took ownership. I apologize. There's nothing I can do. If you want to do something better now that you're going to do better than I did and show your child what it is to be loved the way you wanted to be loved, give that baby the love that I couldn't give you, but you will not nail me to the cross for the rest of my life. And so I think when you say you don't know what to do, like I said, the first thing is to forgive yourself because you deserve that. And again, whether you're religious or not, there's nobody that is greater or better than anybody that has walked the face of the earth and not done something wrong to another person. And so, forgive yourself. And then I gotta be as real as I can, say fuck the people who don't forgive you. And that's regardless of title. Because if I've been there, regardless of where I messed up early, I tried to come in and correct my wrongs and I can't correct your hurt because it's something that's ingrained. And so all I can do is apologize and pray that God do something better to restore us, that he gives you that sense of peace and wholeness that I couldn't be for you. That's it though, right? I can't go back and put you in my womb and start over again, but we can start from now because at the end of the day, it's all we have. And if I said I'm sorry here and we got today, let's break bread today. Let's love each other today. Let's embrace one another. Let's tell each other we love each other. Let's hold a conversation. Let me see you be better to my grandson than I was to you. And let me bask in that to know that you were the generational curse breaker. Instead of bringing up every single moment you can how you were hurt. And so that's how you got to look at it too and cover her more or cover them more if it's them. Because you're not healed at 52. What do you think they are at 30-something and 20-something, right? So you still got to understand with your wisdom too that you're still recovering. Because when you were trying to go to get the help, instead of really getting it, let's be real, because I remembered you on medications, you were zonked out. So of course you wasn't talking about pain because you were numb. So you wasn't dealing with it, you were coping with it because you had something to put a Band-Aid on. But you still got to raise these kids. But people don't even know that you were so stressed out that you were contemplating suicide. On medications that were supposed to be helping. From a childhood of abuse that you carried with no accountability from the one who did it to you because by her account, it never. So now not only do you not get the apology, like at least you were willing to sincerely give your children, but you got to carry the weight of knowing you'll never get. Right? So again, being on both sides because hurt people hurt people. And I'm saying that because this is the type of emotion we carry into relationships. Not only looking for love in all the right places allegedly, but they be the wrong places because we find people just like us broken, because I guarantee you, for you being abused, there's a brother out there somewhere who went through the exact same thing, where their daddy was miserable, where their father was an alcoholic, and he beat his mama, and he used to beat on him when he couldn't beat the mom, or he was jealous of him, or the mom was jealous of the daughter, right? And so now you got to deal with this, and you thinking, I'm supposed to have love for my mom. How do you give the love for your children that you never received?
It's very hard because you don't know how to give love to your children if you never received it. And that was hard for me.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I did the best I could do with what I had.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say if I did the best I could do with what I had. And even though I might not have been the best mother, but I was the best mother that they had.
Yeah, that's all I researched. Yeah. And if you really listen to your story, you actually did what you had. You replicated what you had. You didn't necessarily have a home, but you had a house. You didn't necessarily have the love and affection that you desired, but you were cared for. And so that's what you modeled, right? Because love and caring for are two different things. Like, you care for a coat, right? This is so cute, I'm gonna put it in the cleaners, and you care for it. But something you love, you treat with dignity, you treat with respect, you value. And so to grow up and not feel valued by the one person that should have, your mother, the person that carried you in their womb. And so I just want to point it out, how is you and your mom's relationship now?
We get along.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we are a lot better. Of course, my mom's getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And hands down, 10 toes down, I would do anything for her because she's my mother. But there's times that, like a week ago has, and it hadn't even dawned on me, like, I hadn't talked to my mom in a week. But it's like with my daughters, if I hadn't talked to them in a day, I'm like, something's wrong. Like, why can't I talk to my daughters? But my mom will call me, I hadn't talked to you since last Tuesday. And I'm like, it's Thursday. And it hadn't even dawned on me, that I hadn't even talked to her. And it's not by, that I'm just doing it purposely. It's just, I don't even think about it. And that bothers me because I want to think about it. I want to talk to my mother every day. I want to have that relationship, but it's just, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't force it. I wanted things to be different with me and my daughters, even though I kind of sort of did the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make things better because I felt like for every mistake that I made with them, I felt like I made up for it another way.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been the right way, but I still felt like for every wrong that I did, I tried to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems like now it's just not enough. I don't try to throw the mother title around, but at the end of the day, I am still your mother.
Mm-hmm.
My mother don't try to throw the mother thing around, but at the end of the day, she is still my mother.
Period.
And whether I talk to my mother, whether I write my mother, whether I email my mother, at the end of the day, I still respect her,
right,
and honor her as my mother. And I just expect the same thing. I don't disrespect my mother. Before I disrespect my mother, I just be like, you know what, Mom, I love you. I'll talk to you later. Because I can do that. I can tell you I love you and I'll talk to you later. It don't have to be no discord. It don't have to be no argument, fuss, cuss, none of that. Because I'm 52, my mother's 76, and I can say, hey, I'll talk to you later. And I just feel like with this generation of kids, they just feel like because they grown, that they can just say what they want to say, they can do whatever they want to do, they can be disrespectful. I'm not having it. I've had it, and it stops now. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for it, and nothing that I push down my womb is going to be just blatantly disrespectful to me. And again, I'm not blatantly disrespectful to my mother. I have every right, per me, to be disrespectful to her. And I feel like my kids probably feel the same way, that they had every right to be disrespectful to me. But at the same token, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And that means I don't have to talk to you. That means we don't ever talk again.
Then that's just to me what it is. Yeah, because there has to be boundaries, and you don't want that. You know, we love. Like, let's be clear. I do not want discord in my family, but like you just said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And not only that, you teach people how to treat you.
Absolutely.
If I let you think that this is going to be how we going to set the tone, that's going to be the tone for the rest of the relationship. And that's not okay. So let me nip it in the bud now so that you understand that I'm okay with not ever talking to you again as long as I'm respected. Because if you're not in my presence, you can't disrespect me. But if you're in it, you will. And so if I gave you life, you might not even like me, but you're going to respect me. And it's just that simple because, again, I wasn't the best mother, but I was the best mother you had. You never went without anything. You always had food. You always had clothes. And you were loved. Now, some days when I had to tuck that tail, you know, it was what it was. But I think that, you know, it's so easy. And that's why I love verbal mirrors, reflecting, understanding, because that's what this is about. It's so easy to judge when you're not in the person's shoes. It's so easy to say, how did she do that baby like that? And she went through that. Well, you would think it into, I said the same thing. How did I end up getting my ass beat when I watched my mama get her ass beat? Right? And it's like, because some things don't click. You are trained, your subconscious is trained to what it knows, what it sees, until you expose it to something different, something that can change the trajectory of your life and your thinking. And so until you do it, if you're still hanging in the hood, if you're still hanging around the people that still get hot, if you still hanging around the people that still alcoholics, if you still hanging around the molesters, the abusers, 9 times out of damn 10, that's what you are. Because you've not did anything. Again, you've not gone through any kind of therapy. You've not gotten any kind of help. You've not taken any kind of accountability. You've not said, I'm going to apologize. So where does the change come in? But it's different when you say, you know what, I did do this. I apologize for this. How though can we move forward? Because maybe you're not 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You're not 21, 22. Like, you're literally in your 30s now. So what can we do now? Because I know that I can't erase that. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to have a better life and relationship with you as an adult than we ever had as you being a child. That's the best I got. Right? But I can't sit every day. What you want me to do? Well, I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. If I'm sorry,
That's what's in.
yeah, but we're not doing that. No, and I'm sorry, and I'm not going to get in your business because that's your personal thing. And I know everybody has to work their thing out, but nobody is supposed to live in eternal damnation. You will not make me, especially if I've apologized and tried to make it right. Now, I can't remove scars. Nothing can ever make me unremember me being molested. Nothing can make me unremember me being drugged up railroad tracks and saw off shotguns pulled to me. None of that will ever be forgotten, right? But I don't reside there anymore. It's a distant memory. The only way that memory stays alive is if I give it breath. If I reach back 20, 30 something years ago and grab it. If I grab that shit from when I was 9, there we go, right? Then I bask in that. Then I'm in that energy. Then I carry it. Now I got resentment. Now I'm depressed. Now I'm hateful. But if I let it go and realize that whatever it was, and I survived it and I overcame it. And I'm going to do better and show my children better than what I saw. So that they never, the one thing that I promised myself, if God gave me strength, and I understand that I am not God, I am not source, I am not universe, I cannot see everything everywhere, but I ask God, if God gave me strength to break the generational curse of my children having a Me Too story of being touched, none of mine have been touched. And that was powerful to me, right? I went overboard though, because they was on lock. Everybody want I say. Who's the mama? I don't know they cousin. I don't know they boyfriend. When he drink, do he look at little girls? Cause see, again, what I went through made me be fearful, and I imposed that on my children. Did it save them? Well, God saved them. But yes, I like to think that some of that did, but my fear is what did it, right? It was fear initially. Instead of really praying and really believing, it was fear. And I took that fear and it messed my kids up to a degree. And so it made them want to bust out because they felt like they were in jail, and right. And so you don't know what you don't know. And I'm only bringing that up because, again, you had your way of failing at some point or making the wrong decisions as a parent, as did I. We all did, but we don't stay there. So we're going to get ready to close it out. I want to know, what is the one thing, or not one thing, just what would you like to tell your adult daughters now that you want to leave them with, so that whenever they hear this, understanding that this is all in love? I actually wanted to talk about this. It was something I wanted to bring up because I know your whole story. We grew up together, my sister, right? So I know your whole story, even though, different households or whatever the situation is, I was there. I saw her from beginning to end. And even though I didn't have those type of abuses from my mom, really, I had other issues that I had to overcome, that I really resented my mother. How could you leave me unattended? You know what I'm saying? Knowing that you've been molested, knowing that niggas touched you, knowing what you went through, and you left me in the hands of your mother that was an actor. How dare you? You had a responsibility and you fucking failed me. That's how I felt about her then, until I raised 4 children. Until I became a mother and had a grandmother and now a great grandmother. And I realized that there are mistakes to be made, that everybody is flawed and nobody is perfect, that wrong decisions will be made from emotion, and that hurt people. And as a result of that, you are not always going to get it right. And so I wanted to bring it up. So it was my idea because I've watched this, and I've watched them develop into beautiful women with my beautiful great niece and nephew. And knowing that I've been through the trenches, and I can look at my life, and we talked about, I told you this is the most peace, and I'll be 52 in July. This is the most peace I've ever had in my entire life. And the only reason I have it is because I chose me. I chose my healing. I chose my forgiveness. I chose my correction. And I chose to live my life my way unapologetically. And once I chose me, everything else fell into place. That's why I was able to forgive my abusers. I was able to forget that bullshit and keep moving. So at this point, I'm leading up to that because I want you at this point, with the beautiful women that you've raised, with the grandchildren that you raised, what do you want to say to them now? Fuck all the old stuff, all the outdated things, because all we have is right now. I promise we don't even know if we got a second from now, let alone a day. What you want to leave your babies with?
I would leave with them is to not allow the abuse that I pressed upon them, to not allow what I did to them for them to do it to my grandchildren. So let it just stop here. Know that they're going to make mistakes. Know that nothing's perfect. Know that there is no perfect mother.
Mm-hmm.
Know that being a mother does not come with instruction. And just be the best mother that you know how to be. Mm-hmm. And instead of waiting for somebody to give you a handout on what you need to do to be a mother, it's okay to seek somebody. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to seek your pastor, your best friend, your auntie, or whoever it is that you're comfortable with talking to you, that can help you not become an abuser to your son and to your daughter. So you don't have to be sitting at 52 years old, still regretting what happened to you and what you did to him, to her, to them. And just be the best mother that you can be. And just strive harder. Because there is going to be a day that there is something that you're going to say wrong that he's going to remember when he's 22.
Mm-hmm.
That she's going to remember when she's 16. And it's not a good feeling to be the best mother that you know how to be and give all that you have for them to grow up and basically feel like you were nothing. And that's the way I feel sometimes, like, damn, I didn't do nothing right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great feeling.
That's powerful. And you know, I'm glad that you said that, because that goes back to you forgiving you. Because you can't let nobody put you in a space and a place to hold you captive to where you can't feel whole inside. And that's what I had to learn. And it is a tough feat, you know, to know what you've done all you can for your children. But that's the thing in speaking, you know what you sacrificed, you know what you did. And as long as that's what you know, there's nothing to prove to anybody else. It's the accountability piece that's most powerful for me, because again, I have friends, I have intimate partners that I've had before, ex-husbands, again, that have just really did some foul stuff that I know I'll never ever hear. You know what? I apologize. And that's okay, because what I had to realize is that I owed me the apology. I owed me the apology for letting myself fall subject and prey to the shit that I did, for not allowing myself to know that I deserved more than the things that I was accepting from whoever it was. And so to learn that now I have a choice, that I can decide whether I'm happy or not, whether I'm with a male, whether I'm with a friend, whether she's my girl or not, whether my daughter is talking to me, whether my son wants to fuck with me or not. I had to find a peace within myself, because when it's all said and done, when all the doors close, when we shut this down, when we get done with this podcast, when we go back to our respective homes and places, we the only people that's with us. You believing and trusting what somebody else feels about you more than what you trust and feel about yourself. And so stop holding yourself in that jail. If you apologize, you apologize. And again, if we want to go scripture, how many times shall I forgive? 7? What he say? No, 77 times 7. You keep forgiving, because you gotta forgive, because no man or woman is perfect. I'm gonna say something to you, like Amber. We talked about it when Mama had her stroke. Me and you was mad at each other. We was angry, but my mom laid in the hospital with a hemorrhagic stroke, and because of the bond that we had and the sisterhood that we had, we wasn't even talking to each other. You was on one side of the bed and I was on the other. It didn't matter about what happened. The forgiveness was in the love. I don't care what we said. When we needed each other the most, we were there. And it was the forgiveness. That was the forgiveness. The love was the forgiveness. Yeah, you hurt me. I hurt you. I said some words. You said some words. But it paled in comparison to looking at my mother in that hospital bed, wondering if she was going to live. And I think that we don't pay attention to the major things. We focus on the shit that means nothing when it's all said and done, because if you left tomorrow, I promise you, whatever happened when they were 10, 12, and 14 would pale in comparison to you no longer being here. And I think that's what we need to pay attention to. We all leaving. But while we're here with the now, can we just love each other? So I'm going to leave us with that. You know, can we just love each other now? Can we forgive each other now? Especially if you got the apology, but wait for it. Even if you never get that apology, are you bold enough? Are you strong enough? Do you have enough fight, tenacity, and faith to forgive yourself? Because that's really what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, when I leave here, I'm going by myself. And when I came here, I came for myself to live my life. You can't live your kids' life. They're adults now. You did the best you could, and they ain't been homeless. They got a roof over their head. And stop feeling bad, because when I look at them, I see a woman that graduated with a psychology degree. When I look at them, I see a woman that just had a baby that is a nail technician, came from the gutter, got it out the mud, went through the mud. And now I hold a beautiful conversation, FaceTime together in love. So time can heal our wounds. But even if the time doesn't, are you willing to let the wound heal? That's what you got to do. And that's what my nieces have to do, and anybody else that is holding on to pain that is no longer yours. Let that shit go. Live life. You only get one. Stand in your power. If that person hurt you, quit giving them power by still holding on to it. Let it go. If that person misused you, quit giving them power by still letting them do it. Because if you keep thinking about it, if you keep holding on to it, that's all they doing, robbing you of joy, robbing you of a day, robbing you of 1 second to be happy. It's too long for me. So y'all know how we do. I thank you, sister, for being, I love you more. And you know, I normally don't even say that, but I love you more. I love you to life and beyond. I thank you for getting on and exposing, because we know families don't hear this. We know this is going to be out there. But again, we talk about the taboo things, the things that get swept under the rug, where everybody want to act like everything is okay, and then it never gets dealt with. And then we got people who are mentally unstable and effed up out here because nobody wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. And that's what this platform is for. So I want to thank every one of our listeners for hopping on, for listening to us, for, just listening to all the real stories, real people. And like she said, and I love what she said, go get that help. Go get you some counseling. Go to your pastor. Go to that best friend. Go get help. It is not okay to go get help. It's not okay to sit and act like everything's okay. Go get the help you need. It used to be taboo, but now let's get that mental health. Talk about it. Apologize, but don't kiss ass. Okay? Because we don't have to do that. So I want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate you, because without you listening, we wouldn't have this platform. But we want you to like, we want you to share, subscribe, right? Because we need the word to get out. It's cool to have podcasts. It's cool to shoot the shit. But can we shoot it about things that we're really dealing with at home? Can we shoot it about things that we really have experienced as a Black community? I can't speak for a white community. I'm sure you go through your shit too. But I'm speaking from the culture that we come from Gary, Indiana, what we come from the things that we were exposed to, how it carried into our lives, how it made us have to reevaluate and heal the shit that we were exposed to. And it's never too late. So we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you. I want to thank our sponsor, I Can and I Will Women's Empowerment LLC. You can follow them. You can go to I Can and I Will Women's Empowerment.com. We thank you for your support. And again, sister, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for making this platform amazing. Thank you for being raw, transparent, open yourself, and telling your truth and being unapologetically you. So y'all, you know how we do. We're going to be on next week. We're going to be on with another guest. We're going to be raw, uncut, give it to you the way you need to hear it and not just how you want to hear it, right? And we're going to always keep it 100 with you. But more importantly, we're going to make sure that we touch people and make sure that mental health and those things that need to be addressed are addressed, and hopefully give you some sort of tools that you have resources that you can be able to conduct yourself in a fashion that you are able to heal as well. So we love you. You know how we do. We're going to close us out with our outro video. Follow us. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on everything. But I want you to go to podbean.com, because we're trying to get to over 1,000 subscribers. Help a sister out. Go ahead, support us. And we love you. We appreciate you. And goodbye. As we wrap up another episode of Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding, we encourage you to carry the reflection sparked here into your daily interactions. Let the echoes of diverse perspective guide your journey towards greater empathy and connection. Thank you for being a part of our dialogue. Until next time, may your mirrors of understanding continue to reflect a world filled with compassion and unity.